This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
Just ahead on Carolina Impact.
Mecklenburg County is spending millions more getting children ready for kindergarten. I'm Sharon Smith. I'll show you how it's adding up in the classroom.
And we'll meet an amazing artist who finds inspiration through grief. Plus, we'll take you out to the ballpark in South Carolina, where the Black Baseball League has enjoyed generations of community love. Carolina Impact starts right now.
Carolina Impact, covering the issues, people, and places that impact you. This is Carolina Impact.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Amy Burkett. Take any kindergarten classroom in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, and you'll find some kids already know their letters and numbers while others are just learning English. And for still more, it's their very first time in the classroom. That readiness gap isn't easy to overcome. One indicator is Charlotte's bottom ranking in breaking the poverty cycle in a national report. Carolina Impact's Sharon Smith shows us how local leaders hope to turn it around with universal pre-K.
4-year-olds are naturally funny, playful little learners.
All right.
They're into everything.
I need to learn about all this stuff.
And they learn by touching, building, listening.
We can help you understand and deal with being messy.
But an early preschool education, like here at Nana's Place, is not automatic for every child in Mecklenburg County. For some families, it's financially out of reach. This year, that's starting to change.
This is huge. This is very exciting, very fulfilling. I think it allows families to feel a sense of a level playing field.
Karen Smith-Jones is one of 20 private providers partnering with Mecklenburg County to offer free universal pre-K for lower income families. The program is called Meck Pre-K. The $9 million investment creates 33 classrooms for 600 children, which includes an $800 a month subsidy per child, plus money to help pay certified teachers and assistants, including retirement and benefits. It's a big commitment for local government, something County Manager Dina DiOrio believes in strongly.
It's a whole program. It's not just a classroom where you throw a teacher in and send them on their way. So it is different than just a child care center that provides child care to 4-year-olds. Right. This is school.
County commissioners approved the funding with debate on how to pay for it through a small tax increase. For Smith-Jones, it's simple logic.
You either pay now or you pay later.
Studies show children's brains go through rapid development before age 5. Early education can have a lasting impact on the child and has been proven to help curb the cost of crime, special education needs, and increase upward mobility in the community. There's the research and personal success stories.
Well, my very first Nana's Place child is now 25 years old. She has an apartment downtown in the Duke Energy Building overlooking the Panther Stadium. She is a graduate of Spelman College and a computer science guru. I look at her and then I look at all those students that came after them and I watch what they're doing and where they are, and I'm amazed.
Abigail is one of those students today. As her mom, Ebony Leith, checks in on class, she explains why being part of Meck Pre-K is so important.
Abigail was 1 pound and 14 ounces, and people didn't think she was gonna walk or talk on time. And I mean, she's 4 years old, spelling her name, can tell you where she lives, can tell you, her phone number, anything and everything you want to know about her.
Leith says every bit of early classroom learning matters. She's no different from other parents who want the best early start for their kids.
Said it just gives Abigail an advantage of being ready for when she goes to an elementary school.
That's the idea, says Nancy Hughes, Executive Director for Mecklenburg County Smart Start, which manages Meck Pre-K.
So much happens in the child's first 5 years.
A county report on preschool expansion and sustainability estimates 4,000 children who qualify for assistance are on a wait list. Meck Pre-K helps answer that need, along with preschool programs funded by state and federal dollars.
As far as quality and what the classrooms, we're using the same curriculum, our teachers have the same qualifications. We are just really trying to align very closely with NC Pre-K and the Bright Beginnings also, so that parents just have really good choices based on geographic location. A lot of it's going to come down to that, where they can find a slot that works well for their child.
Demand is high, but the Meck Pre-K rollout has been intentionally slow. Families are still enrolling.
Part of the challenge has just been the speed in which we've been trying to get this started.
Hughes says they moved mountains to get classrooms staffed and ready over the summer once funding was approved.
A lot of paperwork.
Back at Nana's place, Smith Jones also adjusted quickly to prepare a new Meck Pre-K classroom. There's more paperwork and rearranging, but the mission hasn't changed.
If you don't do anything else in this world, I would love for you to honor yourself, honor others, be kind, know how to be respectful, know how to be respected.
It's about teaching character and academics as a foundation for success.
Thanks so much. Sharon joins us now. And we want to talk a little bit about how this happened, and we saw in the package. It really was championed by the county manager, Dina Diorio, right? I mean, she's going out saying we need to make this happen.
Right, just to make more families come into that preschool pipeline for sure. So that is the goal, to get a lot more children attending preschool here. And what's currently on the table is part of this 6-year plan to keep adding classrooms, adding children, adding providers, so that eventually attending preschool becomes the standard and the expectation, not just for families who can keep affording it on their own.
Well, a lot of things came out from that 2013 Harvard study that showed that Charlotte was at the bottom of major cities for economic mobility, and that early childhood education was such a critical component. So while that first came out back in 2013, I mean, it's taken over 5 years to get something started. You can't go from nothing to everything all at once. So this is going to be a process, but was that the catalyst?
Yeah, I think phasing in those recommendations from the Opportunity Task Force is definitely part of it. You recall when those city and county leaders made that pledge to create more opportunity and to create more jobs. Having this preschool program that the county helps fund for some families is definitely part of that, creating opportunity and helping to prepare those young minds even earlier.
So what's the impact on the small businesses, the independent preschools that are out there all over the place, and are there enough qualified teachers?
That is part of the problem. Right now, they do have all of the teachers they need, and they do have to meet certain standards. And there's also a financial incentive, let's be real, for all of these providers who have to come up and meet those regulations for Meck Pre-K. So they get help paying for these teachers, paying for these classrooms. But not all the providers who wanted to be part of Meck Pre-K made the cut. So is it possible that some of these small business owners could get hurt by this? Could they maybe lose families to Meck Pre-K? There is that theory floating out there, but there's also a thought that maybe Meck Pre-K helps provide this funding stream for some child care facilities, and these other child care facilities may take advantage of funding that's also been freed up by other streams that Meck Pre-K is taking care of.
Before we run out of time, I just want to talk about sustainability. How do we pay for it, and how do we keep it going as we're trying to grow it to make it universal?
Right, that's always a big discussion, right? What's happening here? Property taxes are clearing the path for it. Right now in this budget, it's about $20 a year per $250,000 on a house.
In value of your house.
Right, but we also know there's a revaluation process. That means more money coming into the county, likely higher property values. A lot of county commissioners said we don't like using a tax increase for this, but when Mecklenburg County leaders did the research, they found there was community support to help pay for this.
Sharon Smith, great information. We will be following this closely and appreciate your help.
You bet.
Where do you find inspiration? For me, it's often through reading books. You're about to meet an artist who is inspired by stories of loss and hardship. The art she creates can help in the healing process. Carolina Impact's Tanisha Johnson introduces us to Monique Luck.
Charlotte artist Monique Luck isn't looking to tell a picture-perfect story.
This piece is going to be called Wish.
Instead, with torn magazine photos using glue and bright paint, she recreates a broader message mixed with lots of emotion, something many people can relate to.
It's a woman looking down, and it's kind of just her loss flowing. In my artwork, I like to put those stories in there, and sometimes it looks like very colorful and very bright, and then you get a little bit closer and you might actually see some of the deeper messages that I've kind of hidden in the piece.
And they're hidden in plain sight. This is a tree, Luck's family tree, that tells the story of many generations. At first glance, the shapes and colors let you see large patterns and oftentimes the big picture. But when you take a step back and then lean in closer and closer, the invisible becomes visible. And it's then that you see the real, authentic beauty of a mosaic mural. It's made up of important people, words, fabrics, and symbols of an era and of loss.
Okay, this looks good.
With this kind of art, you might think Luck's been doing this all of her life. But in truth, she first went to work in corporate America.
I realized I was on the wrong side. I was like, this is not working. So I literally quit my job. And there was this like art studio that I was driving by every day. And I just walked in. I was like, okay, sign me up. I'm here to do work.
And just like that in 2004, The Artist Within was born.
Kind of exploring different techniques, doing a lot of different oils, acrylics.
And when she began teaching art and creating public murals, her lens as an artist changed.
That put me smack dab in the middle of the community, and it was like, I got to meet people were coming up all the time, and that's another, when I started having that connection with people and getting their input.
Today, that input is her inspiration to paint, sculpt, and create, like the Evocation Project, which evokes our responses to memories of loss. It's with this project that conversations, creations of collages, and notes from people about memories of loss take center stage.
And I'm always surprised by what the stories are. I mean, I don't even know how some of the stories, how people deal with it. He said, I call this piece The Loss of Innocence. And he told a story of when he was a young boy in Vietnam. He was given a gun and he was taught to use it for war.
Luck admits that being vulnerable provides a way of escape and a level of comfort for people, including herself.
It started because of my own personal loss when I lost my sister, and I was like, I want to do a project about loss, about her, and then it turned into, wait, there's so many other people dealing with things.
Perhaps one of the most impactful projects she's worked on was Welcoming Dreams. It's something she got together with residents on in this Renaissance West neighborhood. And now it sits at the entrance of the community, welcoming people in. She says when she learned the real history of what took place there, it changed her perspective, giving her the chance to create symbols of hope in what was once a high poverty, high crime part of town. Names, pictures of police officers who died here, and personal items from residents make up the mosaic. They help them to remember and move forward. Back at her studio, Luck reflects on art that's inspired her.
She said this was one of the most important trips I ever took. And at the time, they didn't realize it. But a month after they got back, her friend died. I'm thinking about her. I'm thinking about what she taught me in that moment about taking advantage of the time you have with people.
Although Luck often makes art based on community stories, the well of ideas never runs dry.
And I've done several paintings based off of dreams that I've had. If I'm ever looking for inspiration, I'll go back to my book.
Once she is engaged in art, she doesn't stop, often going to bed with paint and paper stuck to her like glue.
I always get kind of excited to see, like, when I'm working really, really late, what it looks like in the morning. It's like the first thing I do is run upstairs and be like, okay, good.
Her work has been so good that when finished, it lands in art centers around the country. You can even find it on billboards across Charlotte, giving drivers whizzing by a quick glimpse of a story that's more than what meets the eye. Luck is committed to her art and will keep filling in the blank spaces until the story is complete, hoping that the message within evokes an understanding of pain and healing. For Carolina Impact, I'm Tanisha Johnson reporting.
Thanks so much, Tanisha. I just love Monique's art. If you're interested in seeing it, You can check it out on display at the McCall and Harvey Gantt Centers. Well, next up, we explore a different form of art, photography, and the powerful impact those images can have when a child is diagnosed with cancer. Trips to the hospital unfortunately become the new routine. Oftentimes, kids become isolated from school, siblings, and friends. It can be a challenge to find reasons to smile, but one Charlotte organization is doing all it can to change that. Carolina Impact's Jason Terzis has the story.
Now we're getting there. Okay, that's it right there.
It's your typical photo shoot.
37 years I've been a photographer. Okay, man, so bring down your hand a little bit so I can see a little more of that face.
Something Patrick Schneider has taken part in countless times.
Photojournalist, 25 years in newspaper. That's great right there. Perfect, looks good.
But this actually isn't your typical photo shoot.
You know, I was always looking for an opportunity to give back to the community, to be able to use my skills and craft to do so.
Patrick and so many others volunteer their time for Flashes of Hope, an organization that takes pictures of kids battling cancer and other life-threatening illnesses.
You know, you think you'd lay down your life for your kids. And you know, you want to protect them, you know, and then you've got this.
I think it takes a minute for people to understand sort of what types of pictures we're going to be capturing and what we're going to be doing.
By focusing on the child, cancer, at least temporarily, is put in the background.
For that 15-20 minutes that we get them in front of our cameras, we're trying to make it special for them.
Feeling special, at least for a little bit, will hopefully allow the kids to see themselves in a different light.
Because some of the kids that get in front of our cameras are coming straight from a treatment. And so they're tired and their energies are low, and they're dealing with just coming through the treatment itself. But if we can get a smile on their face, I mean, even a small one, that's a small victory for us.
Founded in Ohio by the parents of a child battling cancer, the Charlotte chapter of Flashes of Hope started in 2008 and has since photographed nearly 3,000 children and their families.
Overall, they cherish these pictures, maybe more than any other pictures that they have.
And it's all done by volunteers, from organizers to photographers, makeup artists, and hairstylists.
We would not be able to do what we do without volunteers, stylists, photographers, and financial donors. I mean, it costs money to do what we do, and we have people that donate their money, their hard-earned money, to help us continue to offer this service.
Photo shoots happen monthly at places like Novant Health Hemby Children's Hospital.
So we're really lucky, especially here in Charlotte. Our chapter has great relationships with the child life specialists and with various folks at the different hospitals. They understand who Flashes of Hope is, what we do, the quality of the work that we produce through our volunteer photographers.
While not all invited families take part, which is understandable given the circumstances, those that do are grateful.
We hadn't had time to take pictures all year long since he's got diagnosed March 1st, 2017. We hadn't been able to take any pictures.
Everything has just been amazing. I mean, this whole situation stinks, but there's been so many people that have gone above and beyond. I mean, the pictures are gonna be amazing. You know, the photographers, everybody, the makeup artists, taking time to do this. I mean, it's, you know, make her feel like a star.
It was really fun. The kids enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. You got to be silly a little bit, you know. We've had a long week.
They are on a journey. They're on a journey that some will look back on these photographs years from now and see how far they've come. And unfortunately for some of these families, some of these kids, they won't make it.
For far too many families, the portraits are the last ones they'll have of their child. Roughly 25% of the photographed children don't survive, making the pictures perhaps even more meaningful to family and friends.
Our pictures are used at memorials, they're used at funeral services, they're used at fundraisers because these families become super active in trying to find a cure so that other families aren't going through what they've been through. And our pictures are the face of that a lot of the time.
To hear back from a family several months after maybe the journey's ended for their child and they haven't made it, which as a parent, I can't even imagine that pain. But for them to fight through that and take the time to reach out to me and say, I can't tell you how much it meant to me, to our family, to have those photos to look back on that special day. I mean, to me, that's what this is all about. It's about not only for the families where their children don't survive, for the families of the kids that do.
After costs are paid, proceeds go to pediatric cancer research. Over the last decade, Flashes of Hope has raised over $5 million nationally, and it's desperately needed. Cancer kills more children each year than any other disease. Childhood cancer receives only 4% of U.S. federal funding for research. 35,000 children are currently in cancer treatment. And since 1980, only 3 drugs have been approved for use in children. The average cost of a hospital stay for a child with cancer, $40,000.
And I definitely think it gives everybody a little bit of perspective. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It certainly makes me go home and hug my 2 boys every time I finish here, and appreciative of the health that they have. I feel like it also puts a perspective on the day-to-day and the things that we get frustrated by and what we think is a big deal.
The goals for Flashes of Hope are simple. Help find a cure for pediatric cancer. And in the meantime, photograph every child until that cure is found. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jason Terzis reporting.
Thanks so much, Jason. It's great to see those kids smile. Well, here's your chance to get involved. Flashes of Hope needs volunteers, photographers, stylists, and of course, financial donations. The organization also works with Atrium Health's Levine Children's Hospital. Well, as the World Series begins and all eyes are on Major League Baseball, we thought you'd enjoy the next story. It's said that nothing is more American than baseball, hot dogs, and apple pie. Well, there's a baseball community that you might not have heard too much about. It's the Black Baseball League, and it's been around for generations. It began in the late 1800s. It's less common these days, but the one in South Carolina remains a vibrant part of its community. 15-year-olds play with 50-year-olds, and the fans come to watch every single weekend. Carolina Impact's Doug Stacker and Jason Terzis brings us the story.
They followed in the path of the old Negro Leagues while carving out their own lasting legacy.
It's like tradition.
It's been said that baseball is kind of like the blues. It's always been part of the fabric of the black community.
I love this game.
Let's go. You may not have heard about the Community All-Star Baseball League, but it's been a part of the upstate South Carolina landscape for well over 70 years.
I grew up playing it my whole life. Just baseball. You gotta love it.
Take a drive down some old country roads and you'll find them. Small towns like Newberry, where the playing field is by no means perfect. The lines may not be straight, the scoreboard old and rusty. Weeds are trying to take over the infield, and the field itself isn't even flat. But no one here seems to mind, because after all, it's the game that brings everyone together.
I'm not a professional, but it's still this is my major league right here.
This isn't a youth league, isn't a senior league, it's an everybody league. Age range runs the gamut, from 15-year-old high schoolers to 55-year-olds who've been playing in the league for 4 decades.
There's a lot of guys that played out here that could have played some pro baseball.
We teach them, like, hey, you might not never make it pro. It's not about the money and stuff like that. It's about, the integrity of the game. You want to be out here and have fun and feel good about what you're doing and knowing how to play it the right way. I think a lot of those guys appreciate that.
And they're all here for the same reason, for the love of the game.
I love baseball because when you come out here and play, all the extra stuff that's out there in the world, it goes out the window. It seems like in life, baseball is the only thing that I can do right.
It's all the sights and sounds you'd expect from a baseball game, from the pregame prayer to the pop of the glove and the ping of the bat, even some fun trash talking.
I bet you won't win today.
Generations in these parts have grown up coming to these games. It's almost in a way like a big family reunion, and it happens every weekend.
Community comes out, supports it a lot.
It was always like this, especially on Sundays. This place is packed.
This summer, the Community All-Star League featured 7 teams, located in small towns all around the upstate. Today's game featured the Newberry Pirates against the visiting Union County Cardinals.
I've been watching the Pirates play ever since I was a young kid.
And we watched everything the guys did back in the day, how they played, what they did. We'd go home and try to imitate stuff in the backyard.
I grew up around here. My dad played out here, my uncles.
Since many of these guys know each other, even on opposing teams, nicknames are pretty popular.
Everybody call me Moose.
What's that stand for? Downtown Brian.
Shooter, T90, Darth Vader.
Most of the players were on their high school teams. Some played in college, and a few made it to the minor leagues. Then there's this guy.
My name is Carl Edwards Jr. I'm a relief pitcher with the Chicago Cubs.
Carl Edwards Jr. helped the Chicago Cubs win the 2016 World Series. He grew up watching his dad and uncles play on this field before he started playing in the league himself as a 15-year-old.
This is my stepping stone. This is where I grew up playing the game of baseball at.
He wanted to make a name for himself, and he's doing that right now. And we all proud of him.
Basically, I feel like I've lived everybody's dream out there now that's playing. And when I come home, it's like, bro, you know, that was my dream. You did it.
Everybody around here proud of him. Everybody.
Unfortunately, Carl Edwards Jr. is the exception and not the rule, not only for the Community All-Star League, but for blacks in baseball as well. Numbers are at all-time lows, with African Americans making up only about 8% of all major leaguers.
There's a lot of youth now that they rather play basketball and football now.
But there's nothing more these guys would like than to keep the game and its spirit alive.
To keep it going, you gotta have people that love it.
Guys like us that are older, we're trying to keep the legacy going and hand it down to these young guys.
And then there's Hugh Gorey. He sees his whole life in the game of baseball. That's him, front row, as a 5-year-old, as a bat boy for his uncle's team. Now at 50, he serves as player, manager, and league commissioner.
We can't play forever.
They come from different backgrounds and are at different stages of life. The Negro Leagues may be long gone, but its spirit is alive and well all around the upstate. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jason Tersis reporting.
Thanks so much, Doug and Jason. I just love that acoustic version of Take Me Out to the Ballpark. It was recorded by beloved New York Yankees center fielder Bernie Williams. Well, our time together passes way too quickly. That's all we have time for this evening. Thanks so much for joining us. We always appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you back here again next time on Carolina Impact. Good night, my friends.
Production of PBS Charlotte.